Hello and welcome to Real Men Feel. I'm your host, author, coach, and healer, Andy Grant. Before we get going today, I want to show you something. This is the Silver Signal Award that Real Men Feel recently received for being the most inspirational podcast. So they give out awards, bronze, silver, and gold. We got the silver, and the gold went to Mel Robbins. So it's a pretty amazing company, and I wanted to show this to you because whether this is the first episode you're ever seeing or the 300th, you are part of this. Without you, I'm talking to myself, which does sometimes happen, but doesn't win anything. Real Men Feel exists to remind men that they are human beings, and they have the right and the need to express and experience all of their emotions. We have conversations that most men are not having, but that all men can benefit from. My guest today is Jon Emery. Jon was a typical American man, doing all the things he had been told to do while growing up. He had a good job, he got married, he built a home, he became a father. Then job loss and divorce rocked him, and he realized he didn't know who he was. Today, Jon is a podcaster and a podcast coach, helping other people share their resilience and joy. We discuss ways to navigate life's challenges, working through fear, the importance of knowing your values, and much more. Jon shares what helped him the most, including a morning routine, gratitude, and how he attempts to pass this on to his kids too. Let's do it. Hello and welcome to Real Men Feel, Jon.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're recording this on November 19th, and that is International Men's Day. Did you realize that?
You know, I just saw something like on a TikTok or what. I'm like, what is this? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I first heard of it like 4 years ago, maybe, and I forget. It's just this day. So I don't know what could happen, supposed to happen, but in an ideal world, how would you like to see International Men's Day observed?
I was thinking this should be almost like a Father's Day kind of deal, right? Where everybody should be appreciated as a man. I think that's how it should be recognized. How to celebrate that? I don't know. Like, most men are like, just leave me alone. It's my day.
That's why I intentionally asked observed versus celebrated. So
Yeah.
so you didn't have to have a celebration. Yeah, just there's a Men's Day card, just like kind of a thanks for being a good man sort of a interaction with people.
Yeah, I think a handshake or something, right? Yeah, thanks for showing up.
No maypole dance or something. I was trying to think of what flavor cake is men like. I don't know. But,
Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one
so
to think about.
so we talked briefly before, and what I came out of our conversation is that you're a man that did everything you thought you were supposed to do, but still your life kind of fell apart. Set up your good life before things took a turn.
Sure. So my good life was get a job. First I was going to college for a little bit, but I was working full time at the same time. I'm like, what the heck do I need college for? So I wound up staying full time at the job. I was at the job for years. I wound up meeting somebody when I was young. I was 19, and we just started dating, and we got to get engaged and married and stuff. And I'm forget the exact age I was. I want to say maybe 24, 25-ish. I got married. But yeah, so we got married, and I held that job for 20 years because they decided to close down after 20 years. And through that 20 years, I wound up getting some rental properties. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I found another way to make a stream of income if I ever wanted to get out of a job. And then, we wound up having two lovely children on the way. We got our own house that we decided to live in, and that's where we raised the children. Yeah, so I mean, I thought that was great. That's everything I remember being taught or kind of showed, maybe not like pushed in this direction, but showed, hey, you should get a job, provide for the family, and then have that family, have a house, have the car, go on vacations, and then try to have a 401k and all that stuff.
Did that feel good to you? Did you feel fulfillment? Did it feel like it was right and working?
Yes, at the time, sure, absolutely. I think it's to that point where I was like, "There's got to be something else, right?" And I just didn't know what that was, and that's why I was kind of like looking for the rental properties as like an out. And I never followed through with it. I never had a mentor or a coach. I just dove in. You know,
So what did happen that brought all of this? Doing the idealized version of what you're supposed to do. What brought that to an end?
Yeah, so the job I was at for 20 years, they decided to close. It was around COVID, not due to COVID, but they just weren't performing, they said. I got to watch like 60 people leave after production was done. I was in the warehouse shipping area. So I was there and for another 8 months after they left. And I was one of the three left. So I was one of the people. We stripped the whole place clean. I forget how big this place was, but it was huge. All the machines were gone, all the racking was gone, all the inventory. And so I didn't know what to do at the time. I'm so like I finally found a way out, like in a weird way, and I don't know what I was going to do. And so I had the time to kind of relax a little bit, kind of take it in. And somebody I knew was in insurance, and so I ventured into the insurance field. Totally different, not a 9 to 5, not a steady income or anything like that. And I started to enjoy learning what it had to provide for other people. And then I started making videos and stuff and trying to connect with people. And uh, that led me into, trying to kind of got me into podcasting eventually down the road, but it's a little further away. But in that same year, uh, it's things were happening, and I didn't see things happening for a while apparently, and I was focusing on all that stuff, and um, February, within almost a year after I lost my job, things were shaky at the house as far as with my marriage. And we were married for almost 15 years. We did wind up getting a divorce. It was nothing that I was looking for. I prepared for myself for it in a sense because I wound up jumping on a podcast, listening to somebody, and it was a men's podcast. And it was something I listened to 2 years prior to that so I could be a better father. I wanted to show up as a better father for my children. Anyways, I jumped on that. They had a men's group. You can join all these seminars or whatever you want to call it to get to know men better and everything. And I didn't get a chance to do that. I was with my kids at night, so I wanted to try to spend as much time as I could because I didn't know where things were going. I lost 20 pounds. I couldn't sleep. I was trying to figure everything out that was going on in the house. Why is this all happening? I couldn't figure it out. Anyways, joining that men's group, uh, in a sense, I connected with about 5 men, and it was like I want to call it like a lifeline, right? So if you were trying to figure something out, you can call somebody. If they didn't answer, you call somebody else. And those guys were either gonna, right there for you, and they're gonna tell you this stuff. Hey, you don't want to hear it, but this is what's happening. Like one guy said, you're headed in a divorce. And I'm like, what? I mean, like, and this is like, I'm just like telling him what's going on. He's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, oh, great. And that was like months before it even came up from her mouth. But
Wow.
that kind of helped me to prepare for when that word did come up. So I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not trying to figure this out anymore. And so, yeah, so I went through the job loss, I went through the divorce all within about the same year that it got finalized thereafter. It took a while, but that was different. Like I had to find myself again figure out who I really was. Cause I share this, I felt like I was in a mold, like I was, hey, you got to get the job, got to have the kids, got to have the wife, got to have the house, got to have all that stuff. And now I'm like free in a way. So I was able to kind of figure things out, and I'm still on that journey.
Yeah.
Um,
So how did losing your job, losing your marriage, how specifically did that change your outlook on life and fatherhood even?
yeah, so it changed how it's like the job is not everything it's cracked out to be. Like I loved what I was doing and I loved the people, but it can it can pull you down, bring your energy down a lot, right? And I want to say I didn't know who I was because I was working. I came home and I took care of the house and stuff, and I was just in a routine. It was just stuck,
Okay.
and I didn't find that out. Now I have. It's I don't want it's weird to say this in a weird way, right? I have like an out in a way, right? Where I have this time to sit down and talk to you because I just don't have the kids every day anymore. So it's and this is what I do. Like I've been creating things. I still work a full-time job, but I've been creating things, podcasting. I've been creating events that I have coming up and everything like that. So like my mind's opened up, and it took a while for me to get there because I had to work on myself in all the areas that I felt like I had to work on. It was not easy.
Yeah. What helped you most in navigating these major transitions?
The thing that helped me the most, um, I'm gonna say, well, first I started with myself mentally. So it was still continuing to talk to these guys every once in a while I needed to. It was me starting to create a morning routine, and that still continues today. I did shift a few things a little bit, but now I'm praying like that. That's a big game changer for me. I meditate and I write what I'm grateful for, and I'll listen to something positive. And I feel like I have a better outlook on life. Like I'm thankful to be alive, right? Things could be so much worse. You see all these bad stories and I have people come on and share their stuff on my podcast. I don't know how they got through it. But we all have our own journey. Our own experiences we have to go through. So they probably don't know how I got through what I went through.
Right.
So yeah, I would say the morning routine was a great start for me.
So tell me about the podcast. Tell me about Life's Checkmark. How did what was the transition to finally realize? Yeah, I don't know. Did you finally realize a podcast is the answer? Like what made that happen?
Right? So I'll share with you. When I was doing the insurance stuff, I created 10 Facebook Lives with entrepreneurs just to get to know about the entrepreneur field, right? And then I stopped when and went in a different direction. Anyways, about a year or so after uh, divorce work came up, I wound up going to an event where a podcaster is close to me, and it wasn't about podcasting; it was just about growth, right? And so I sat down at a breakfast table with him and some other people. Everybody got up and left, but this one guy. He's like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, I don't know, create a podcast, right?" And I'm and he's like, "Okay, you can do it." And I'm like, "Well, I don't have everything ready. I don't have it." So I said, "I have these 10, Facebook lives." He's like, "Well, just start with that. Just strip the audio and do that." It took me 6 months from that time that he said something to me before I even attempted to strip the audio, and it didn't take long. Uh, and so I did that. I watched it. I explained in episode 0, these are the 10, and this is what they are. But thereafter, this is what it's going to be. And so that's how it got me started, and then it just transitioned from there. But yeah, for me to say podcast, the way it is now is I can actually understand how people get through things, and I ask them questions just like you did. What was like the biggest thing that changed my life to get me going? Because then I could take that information in and I can apply it in my life if I decide to do so, and so can my listeners.
In hindsight, what do you think prevented you from taking action for those 6 months, from the idea to the suggested idea, at least, to you acting on it?
It was fear. It was me thinking I can't do it. Well, who wants to listen, right? And it took me a while to go, who cares if anybody listens? Let's just do it. And that's the question I ask people today if they're going to start a podcast. Would you do it if nobody listened? And that's really what it comes down to.
I've been doing the podcast for like 8 years. I've been a filmmaker, I've worked on TV, all sorts of different things. And my hope is like, I make things that I enjoy. And if someone else comes along for the ride, great. But if they don't, I still enjoy making the thing I made. So it sounds like
Exactly.
you're in that kind of same position. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I enjoy it.
So were those first live streams, was that Life's Checkmark then? Or was that something else?
Yeah. I just made the podcast Life's Checkmark, but I just said, hey, these in episode 0, I said, hey, these first 10 are from this. And that's not what it's going to be about. Episode 11 thereafter this is what it's going to be about.
All right. So what is it about?
It's about people coming on, sharing their journey in life, being authentic, honest, open, and vulnerable, and just a conversation, kind of just like what we're doing here. And I just enjoy hearing what they experience and how they are getting, you know, to where they are going in the future and on the other side, and how they're helping others.
So you mentioned authenticity being important. What does authenticity mean to you, and especially in relationship with others?
Yeah, showing up as yourself and not really caring if they like you or not, and telling them how things are sometimes, and let them know that it's a safe space, but it's just how things are. And if you don't like me for me, then you don't have to be around me. Just go ahead and move on if you wanted to. And that it's got me in that place, like, okay. And that's why, I'll enjoy having the guests come on or people I meet in the real world and at events and stuff. It gets you to that place that it's going to attract the right people, right? And that's what you need, not try to people please. I hear that a lot still, and you can see it. So like if you study and you start reading things, listening to things, you can kind of watch what people do, and you're just like, oh, I got it. That's what they are. That's what they're doing. And their behavior and how they're saying things. It's just funny, right? I don't know everything, but just learning a few things, and then you just watch a few more stuff, and you just like, yeah, yeah, I did see that person do that. They did say that to me. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so being authentic it actually became one of my values. So that's something I want to stick by for as long as I live.
Prior to your life transitions, were you aware of, had you labeled your values?
I want to say yes, but I'm going to say no. I never sat down and go, these are my values.
Yeah.
After everything I experienced, I can say I showed up with my values, and so at least some of them I would say yes. Being authentic is a new one for me, like, because I never felt like I was myself, I guess, in the past. But yeah, I got kind, loyal, loving, and I'm always looking to grow. So those are my five. And I have it right over here. So that's why I could just yeah, I can share it right with you. I have no problem sharing things like that with anybody because it makes me feel better knowing I know what they are.
So, how has your personal growth and journey affected your relationship with your children?
It's kind of tough because I don't see them, I see them every 7 days. So I do try to text them, try to call them, and it's a hit or miss sometimes too. I do For me, I do say, "Hey, have you written?" When they're with me, I ask them to write in their journal like what they're grateful for. I ask them to read for 10 pages a day, and then I do take them to church. If I go to church the Sundays, I have them. So that part has grown, and obviously they're probably don't care about most of it, but eventually, sometime down the road, they'll be like, "Oh, that's why I did it." You know what I mean? Who knows? I don't know. And plus, I have everything, social media and stuff. If they wanted to, they can check it all out. I don't know if they are or not. Every once in a while, my son's like, "Oh, I see you got like 13 views on that last one." I'm like, "Oh, you're looking." Whether he listens to, I doubt it. But so I try to show up better as a father in a sense. Like my daughter has a soccer game, so I go there and I'll put the phone away. And I'll say the same thing to my son. If you're going to come, just put the phone away. Don't, it's an hour, if that. Right. And let's just be present. Let's focus on the time that we have now. And I try to tell them a few things too of, stuff I experienced in life. Again, it probably doesn't hit home right away. They have their friends and everything else that they consume. And I'm one person. So it's kind of tough.
Besides putting the phone away, is there any advice you have for fathers looking to make a deeper relationship with their children?
Yeah, you know what I enjoy? I enjoy taking my daughter with me when I go grocery shopping, and she's stuck in the car. She can't get away, and she just talks. She just says everything that she probably been holding in forever, just about her day, her week, or whatever it is. And it's rewarding as a father to hear everything. And my son's not as verbal, but I'm sure he would say a lot of stuff too. If it was just him, if it's both of them, it's kind of hard. But yeah, it's that like one-on-one time. You get out and you go do an activity. I took him to go hiking for, like a good hour or two. And, we just drove around. Not much was said all the time. I mean, it's kind of like a man to it was father to son, obviously, but it's kind of tough to bring up some stuff sometimes. So that I have to work on because I know he needs that too. But yeah, it's getting them in that one-on-one areas and having those conversations. I try to build up the deep conversations. Like for example, I'll be like, "How was your day today?" Right? I use the word "how," and they go, "Fine." You know what I mean? Like, "Yeah, all right." I'm trying here, and so the conversation's like a minute. It's like okay, but they
So,
went to school all
so
day.
some tips for that. Like, so I know you coach through the podcasting, and I've been working as a coach for good God, 14 years. Um, ask more open-ended questions. Don't ask a question that could be answered with a fine. Like, what was the best part of the day?
Right. I tried that too.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing.
Then what was the worst part of the day? Yeah.
No, I kid you not, man. I'm like, all right, well,
So in addition to your podcasting with Life's Checkmark, I know you're also kind of a podcast coach. You help other people get going. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah. I created a coaching program because I found love in what I do as a podcaster, and I believe other people have that same drive, whatever that is, for why they want to create a podcast. They just don't go, and so I want to be that person to get them, but be behind them to get them going and keep going. All right, and so that's my main goal here. That's for starting a podcast, and actually have a community starting tomorrow with like 12 other podcasters, so we can keep on pushing each other and learn new things, because I don't know everything, and everybody else has other ideas that they used or whatever, whether it's to grow or to get guests or whatever. So it's all just about keep moving forward. A lot of people, podcasters just fade away after a while because they just find out how much work it actually has. But if you have the joy to do it, then that should be the main drive for to keep moving forward.
Hmm. What are there most common challenges that you had and that you see other people having as well?
Yeah, the most common challenges I find is people, they get stuck. They just like, I see that the next guest, like, who am I going to get to be on the next guest? Or how can I, it's like figuring out your schedule too. You have to find time to schedule your podcast episodes that you're going to record, whether it's solo or whether it's going to be with a guest. And with a guest, it's a little harder. That guest might not show up, so you might be behind one. So that's why you kind of you might want to have a backlog, some ready to go just in case, or you do a quick solo episode to fill in the gap. So there's stuff like that, and then everybody dives in where they get into the nitty gritty of stuff, and they go, the best description, the best title, and like I get that, but you're focusing on just that. You're putting too much focus on one area. So I just want to make for me, I just want to make things simple, just to have it go, and then you can change things along the way, one thing at a time.
Yeah, that's how just take action. You can, especially your own creation. You can change the title, you can change everything, but do something that
Yeah,
you can
nobody's
change
gonna
later.
know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, if your first anything has nobody watching it, no one needs to know. You say,
That's right,
call the
yeah.
next one episode 1. Like it doesn't really matter. Has anything in helping others find their voice, share their joy via podcasting, how has it influenced you back? Like, what's come back to you for doing that?
See them actually, see them actually grow and just keep moving forward and actually have something, because it was like a dream, right? It's almost like I want to. You can call it a business if you want. You want to build a business, and you actually go ahead and you get a loan and you do all this work and you have a business, And same thing with a podcast. You do all this stuff first and then you launch it. Like that's how it should be. Not just pick one episode and launch it. But yeah, the joy to see people actually create something and keep moving forward and keep wanting to do it, because it not only helps uh, the other people listening, but it's going to help you yourself as a host. I don't know about you, but when I had guests come on, I absorb all the energy, and I could take what I want and leave whatever else I want behind. But people share what they go, hey, this is what I did to get through that, and I'm like, well, that's a great idea. Maybe I should try that. And so that's what I enjoy the most with having the guests come on my show. Um, but yeah, so I like to see people just keep moving forward.
But when you coach someone and they launch their podcast or they change it or like, what does that give to you? What do you get from that?
Yeah, the joy and the excitement of them actually doing what they wanted to create.
So you feel their joy, excitement,
oh
you
yeah,
experience that as well
that's
for
why I want to
yourself.
be behind them. Tell me why tell me your why. Tell me what is your desire or passion that you want to create a podcast. What is it? And they'll tell you. And then you're right there. Okay, that's great. Let's stick with that. Let's get moving forward. Because, and I say that you want that first. You want to know why you're going to have a podcast, because you're going to probably come up and go, nobody's listening. Why did I start this? And then you have to go back and you go, oh, I started because of this. Okay, but let me keep moving forward. And that's, it's a long game, right? It's not going to happen overnight. It could be 3, 5 years. It could be a long time. Who knows? But it's just have the joy and just keep moving forward. But yeah, so for me, it's to see them actually just keep going.
Are there anything that a skill set, something you had within you didn't realize that you discovered in dealing with the job loss and the divorce that is also serving you in podcasting? Yes.
I feel like I don't know if I always had this, but I feel like I can listen better. For instance, I just had somebody on before this one, before jumping on here with you, and he basically shared his whole journey, and I just sat there and let him have it, and it was a conversation still, but why am I going to interject if he's sharing his journey? Everybody might want to hear what he has to say. So I gave him the space. Not every podcaster is going to do that, but that's just who I am. That's me as a person. So I feel like I became a better listener, uh, and learned to pause, um, in a sense where you can count to four, right? So if I stop, you'll count to four, and then I might say something else because it could be a deeper conversation thereafter, or I might be done. um, and yeah, so that's what I feel like, and that's why I'm trying to work with the kids too. I'm trying to ask them those questions and have a better conversation and be present. And it took me a long time to get where I am today, and I'm not perfect. I'm not where I think I want to be, but I'm definitely striving to make myself better.
I want to dig into that. So, not perfect, right? Nobody's perfect, and you're not where you want to be. So, does that mean where you want to be is perfection?
No, you'll never hit perfect, right? It's
Okay,
all about
good.
progress. It's about just keep moving forward, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's no such thing as perfect. I don't believe in that. Yeah, bad word to use there, but thank you for bringing that back to me. No, I just want to keep getting better, right? And that's how you do it. Yeah. So you think perfect is X because somebody else already is there, and you're just not them. And but once you get there, then there's another perfect, right? You just like, oh, this never ends. But it's all about the process. And just continuing to move forward, always learning, trying to implement things. That's what I enjoy the most, and that's why I enjoyed the podcasting. Like it took me a while to strip audio, took me a while to post it all, and now I got into video and everything like that. So it's all a learning process.
Is there a practice, a program, a book that helped you that you would like to recommend to other men?
That's a great question. Can I? I'll look it up real quick if it's.
Yeah.
So first, I'm going to say uh, the four the four agreements is great for not just men, but for everybody. So that's like second to my Bible. So these were recommended to me by somebody I would consider a coach, one of those guys I met when I was asking for advice. So understanding women is great. It's more of a conference because it was recorded for that, but it's a way to understand behavior and what they're thinking and how we think as a man compared to them. The Way of the Superior Man is another one. But yeah, those are I know that they're there. Like I listened to the Four Agreements, and I was listening to the Understand Women again when I was driving to Florida. So it was just like you got to just keep on taking the same stuff in sometimes.
So it sounds like you got lots of good advice and support from the men's group that you were in. What advice would you give the man that currently, feels like he did it all and lost it all and feels empty, lost, not sure who he is?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you and vulnerable here that I feel like I have not found everything yet. So I'm still moving forward. And um yeah, to feel like they lost it all, I would give them hope. I would give them a place to be safe and talk. And I guess my podcast is one of those places sometimes where people just come on and they obviously they experience something already, but they open up too and they go, oh, I didn't realize I went through all that to get to where I am today. Uh, I'll be Andy. If anybody's listening to this and they just want to lean on someone, I will open up my email or whatever, Facebook, whatever, if they just need to message me for whatever they're going through. And if I don't have all the advice in the world, I would find somebody else that can help them. But I would definitely be willing to be that person to, "Hey, I'm here if you need to talk or something like that. Uh, I might not be available for everything, but I'm here. Like I listen to people on podcasts all the time. So why not? Yeah. If you can make that space, make that area for people to, especially men, just to listen, because we,
Right.
we shut men down.
So it sounds like to me that the advice for someone is to reach out to you, to me, to a friend, to someone that feels safe. Just don't keep it in.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I didn't answer that, I guess, but it is. Yeah, reach out. I know that's hard because it was hard for me to reach out. It was hard for me to go call that podcast and go, "What's this about with this program you have per month?" And then I met these men, and I'm like, "This is just weird. This is just not me. This is not meant for me." But when I found out that 10 men commit suicide every day from divorce, and I am not one of them, that makes it even well worth it. I had no idea about that prior to talking to these guys. And, I don't know where I was going to go. I'm not saying I had those thoughts, but who knows? I don't know. But, it was something that hit me and I didn't see coming. And it's something I never would have wanted in my life because I was always, uh, not taught, but kind of just did not want that to happen. So for me to experience it and try to figure it all out was tough. So yeah, definitely reach out to somebody if you feel like you're in a tough spot. Or I'll tell you what, if you think somebody's in a tough spot, ask them if it's okay. You know, how are you doing? And not, oh, fine. No, how are you? Ask them 2 or 3 times because that's probably when you're going to get the answer.
Yeah. One tip I got from a positive psychology professor years ago was, "How are you really?"
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
S What do you hope listeners take away from life's checkmark?
I hope that they could take away that they're not alone, that somebody else experienced what they're going through, and here's the blueprint in a sense of how somebody else went through it. That's what I hope. My mission is somebody can listen to it and they go, "Oh, I needed to hear that because something could have happened to me. I need to get through this," or somebody can share it to somebody they know. That's the whole mission behind it for me. And it's just going to be that one person.
What's the best way for people to find out more about you, the podcast, the coaching, everything you're up to?
Sure. So you can find me on Facebook, Jonathan.Emery something or whatever. You just look it up. You see my handsome face. Checkmark.com is all with the coaching program, and Podcasters Hub, which is the community. You can go ahead and look me up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Life's Checkmark. It's Life's with the apostrophe and the check mark. Big check mark of the guy walking up the check mark with Life's Checkmark on it. And the check mark is orange, just like this wall back here.
Cool. Well, Jon, thanks for taking the time to talk to me today and share your story and your love and healing through podcasts and inviting other people to find their love, joy, and excitement and through their podcasts. And all energy is contagious. Everything is circular. Everything is give and take. So I love stories where men share their journey and then share how they're being service to the world. And just in case you haven't accepted it, don't realize it, you are being service to the world. The podcast has a long tail. Anytime, I believe that anytime any man is vulnerable in public, it gives some new listener, some new person permission who didn't realize that was even possible. So thanks for doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on here. And that was well said. I agree with you completely.
Cool. So thanks for everyone for joining, listening to us today. Please visit realmenfeel.org. See the blog post for this episode. We'll have links to all the various resources mentioned. Wherever you're discovering Real Men Feel, please subscribe, follow, like, share this episode with somebody, post a review or a comment. If you're not yet in the Real Men Feel private Facebook group, you can join by realmenfeel.org/group. You can reach out to me at realmenfeel@gmail.com. And until next time, be good to yourself.